May I invite Dr. Lokesh Shidara to start the panel discussion on Medical Education Forum, please. Dr. Lokesh Shidara, please.
Hello, myself Dr. Shubham Anand, Organizing Secretary of 17th Global Healthcare Summit. And it's truly a remarkable day and remarkable feat what we have achieved. Like so many international delegates and so many esteemed panel of speakers from throughout the world, ranging from US, UK, Australia, and many other countries. And student participation from countries like Mauritius, China, Nepal, and many others. So it's really an enthralling evening, and I'm really honored to present this esteemed panel of speakers in front of you. So first of all, I would like to welcome Dr. Gangadhar sir, Chairman of National Medical Commission, to come on the stage and sit on the dais. Huge round of applause for Gangadhar sir. Now I would like to welcome Dr. Abhijat Seth sir, President, National Board of Examination, to please come on the dais and have a seat. Now I would like to welcome Dr. Meenu Bajpayee sir, Vice President and Executive Director, National Board of Examination, and former Dean, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, Delhi. Now I'd like to welcome Dr. Lokesh Shidara, and I would request him to welcome all our international speakers on the dais.
Thank you so much. Again, I'm working with Subham for last 5 years to set up the organization and everything. And this is actually my dream. So I'm going to invite our esteemed our international delegation. We'll have here. So Dr. Humayun Chaudhary, President, CEO of FSNB. FSNB means Federation of State Medical Boards. I have Dr. Jeffrey Carter. He's the President, Chairman of the FSNB. Ms. Kate Templeton, JD, Chair-elect of FSNB. And Dr. Sarvam Tarkonda, past Chair, FSNB. And next, I'm not going to spell right, sorry, Peter. Peter Katsofrakis, President, CEO of NBM USA. For he won't give the answers. He's the one who set up the step 1, step 2, step 3. President, CEO. And, where is the name? Dr. Karani, she's a chairman of an NBME. Reena Karani. Dr. Azbuk Shah from UK. So it will be, we request a few speakers to talk few minutes, then we'll open up for mainly the discussion and questionnaire. It's very casual and feel free to ask. And please, we are there to take your questions so that way we can ask them. So I will ask first Dr. NMC Chairman, Dr. Gangadhar sir, to speak few minutes.
Good afternoon. I thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity to share some of the developments with respect to what has happened in medical education in our country. Several challenges, but several good steps forward. As you all know, the National Medical Commission, which came into existence in the last 3 years, and before that we had the Medical Council of India, which had given a very, very strong foundation to the medical education of country, highly structured. The syllabus was very well placed. The course and the content, etc., have been very well defined. Many standards for medical education have also been defined in the past. Nonetheless, once the NMC took over, many more important things were added to make the medical education even better. We are faced with two challenges. One is meet with the required quantity of medical professionals in our country, whereas we have a doctor for about 1,000 people in the population, whereas countries elsewhere have a doctor for every 300 population. At the same time, while we have to increase the numbers of people who can become doctors, we are also faced with the challenge of ensuring that the cost of education is kept at a very modest level, and ensuring, of course, above all these things, a high quality of education. Quality of education, quantity of people who are going to be coming out, at the same time keeping the cost of education as affordable as possible. All three are challenges. As you know, we have about 20 lakh people, 2 million people aspiring to become doctors in our country who write the exam in NEET. And of them, about 10 years ago, we had an opportunity for less than 50,000 to be getting into the MBBS course. In these 10 years, the numbers have steadily increased, and we have reached a number of about 100,000 this year. In fact, this year was the first time 100,000 and above we crossed in terms of MBBS admissions. Post-graduation, for the available 30 or 40,000 seats, we had close to about 200,000 people writing the examination, 2 lakh people writing the examination. This, of course, post-graduation is an area where we are greatly complemented by the National Board of Examinations, where post-graduation studies in other hospitals are also possible. The DNB and the MD, MS, DM, MCH together, we have today about close to 70,000 seats. If somebody got admitted 5 years ago and got into PG eligibility this year, for all the admitted students of those in 2017 or so, and today we have equal number of seats. But the backlog, and of course people wanting their own specialities put together, the 1:3 chances of getting the same subject for the given individual, it stands. So given these challenges to meet, we of course have risen to the occasion, but yet the quality is another area where we have always been concerned with, and we are trying to excel in terms of quality. Like I said, the Medical Council of India had given a lot of stipulations with respect to syllabus, etc., etc. We have gone on to further make it fine-tuned, refined, even better. A few things, the focus has been shift from knowledge-based education to competence-based education. The application of the right knowledge to the right skill is the competence, and competence-based medical education has been rolled out. Last 3 years, many colleges have already adopted this, and more colleges, more and more universities have started adopting this, and in due course, competence-based medical education is going to be a major game changer with respect to what education we will be able to impart to the students. The second issue is exposure to clinical subjects much early in the course. Early clinical exposure is something that we have always found wanting to do it, and we have been able to achieve this. The third part is thus not so much about the processes of education, but it is important to also evaluate the product. The next exam, although it has not yet been put into place, an act allows it to be framed properly. It is a question of time. The next examination is going to help making an assessment of the product of all these processes, medical education, which we have set in, and to be able to measure this. Although the next exam measures only the quality of the undergraduate education, we of course at some point of time hope and think that even the postgraduate training also will be assessed similarly by different boards altogether. In addition to that, a few small issues that have been added, which are going to be very helpful. We know the medical student is highly stressed, and the stress of the medical student has to be perhaps helped. And what are the tools that he can be given? One of them is the mentor-mentee program. every teacher has 4 or 5 students whom he or she has to mentor all through the course, which is going to be very helpful in terms of distressing the individual, counseling, and following up the individuals, both education and the other stresses that the individual will face. Training a person in the start of the career with some yoga practices is going to help again de-stressing this individual. And last, of course, is setting up something called as what we call as the anti-ragging squad. Anti-ragging regulations have been put into place. So many of these things are geared at the welfare of the students, and so the ease at which the individual can navigate himself or herself through the medical education. So having these been put in, we are hoping in the days to come, the medical education is going to see a better future. And last, if not least important, is how we are going to facilitate individuals in the colleges to get access to all what is required for training. Two important agents in training processes are the teachers and the clinical material. And it is here we are faced with serious challenges, and these challenges are slowly being overcome. One of the ways of ensuring teachers being attending to the colleges has been put forward and have been implemented, and hoping with course of time this will get even better. Motivating the teachers by way of teachers training programs. There are various programs that have been rolled out which are available, and are going to train the teacher to be a better teacher and a more motivated teacher in the days to come. With respect to clinical material, just as recently as about 24 hours ago, we were given a huge responsibility of using AI methodology to ensure that clinical material is available in adequate quality and adequate quantity to all the college students to study with. As we must have heard that in many places the patient material is very lacking, and fake patients, etc., you must have heard. How do we overcome these issues is something that has been seriously put forward to us. I am sure we will be able to overcome this. And of course, the rating of the medical colleges, which is a new idea that has been brought into the National Medical Commission Act, is that we're going to get a third party to rate all the colleges, the good, better, best colleges, so that each student has an option to choose the best within the affordable limits for this given individual to choose the college. These are some bird's eye view of what NMC has been able to introduce in its short span of 3 years. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you, Gangadhar sir, for your words of wisdom. Now, next among the galaxy of stars sitting on the dais, I would like to welcome Dr. Abhijat Seth sir, President, National Board of Examination, to kindly give a few words.
Namaste and very good afternoon to all the dignitaries on the dais, off the dais, or senior teachers and faculties, and all my colleague students. On behalf of the National Board of Examination, I extend my gratitude to API to invite us for this interaction. I'll make it very brief because we have a galaxy of great speakers across the globe who will give us a lot of new input to our thought process. Just in a short summary, the National Board of Examination is a postgraduate education body in India. It is not a regulatory body. It works along with the regulatory body, which is NMC, and we run the DNB and related courses, postdoctoral courses, fellowship courses. We also take the entrance examination. Many of these examinations will be eventually replaced into next and the common exit exam, which is the right and appropriate way to go forward in future. And we have focused very high on the training and development in recent years, because we want to make sure that while increasing or chasing the numbers, we must not dilute our quality of the medical education. How we work? We work with the governing board and also in association with the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare and our all stakeholders, as well as in close association with Niti Aayog as well as the NMC. We work on these unanswered questions which we try to address from our own mechanism. The first question is, are we maximizing our resources effectively from the medical education viewpoint? And certainly this question needs introspection by all stakeholders across the country, because the country has two parallel systems. The one is NMC, means the governmental medical colleges, and other is private sector, which is the huge sector which is delivering around 60 to 70% of healthcare deliveries into the metro cities and the cities of importance to all of us. Uh, unless the problem happens that both, even in governmental organization as well as the private organizations, lot of resources goes unutilized for the purpose of education, and it is more to the healthcare delivery and the clinical excellence. And now most of the organizations have realized that this is the area where we should try to come closer and integrate the learning educational resources in such a way that we can maximize the usage of resources. Let us take an example that what National Board has done recently is National Board is utilizing the governmental medical colleges and the government PSUs, which is public sector hospitals and institutions, where the NMC courses are not running and DNB is tapping for these courses, and DNB has started and running the successful courses in these governmental hospitals and PSUs. The second integration which DNB has just started a new concept with a joint accreditation, where we realize that overall we have about 60 to 70,000 private institutions across the country, out of which if we take a 10%, which is 7,000 institutions, and we can maximize the input from this institution to utilize for the training purpose, then certainly we'll be able to address lot of deficiencies in the medical education. The third is very important is there's a lot of criticism always goes on place that why you are increasing number. There are enough numbers in X cities, enough number in Y city. But when we overall take a view of the country, we are still far behind with any Western standards, which all of you are always aspiring to go there. And you will understand that the postgraduate doctors are always far more in numbers than the undergraduate doctors. And the ratio should be at least optimally to 1:1, but ideally it should be more than that. And that is where we are working very closely with the NMC and the government to ensure that the seat number rises. We understand that merit should not go away, but at least all undergraduate students who are passing the exam should be able to get at least postgraduate training opportunities in the country, and that is the motto. The next important question is, do we need to rely more on the self-regulation, which was the history in the past, where we were not much worried about all these medico-legal consequences, violences, or doctor-patient relationship, or the mannerism, moral, lot of things we were less worried because we were largely on the self-regulation mode. Now the things has changed a lot with the complex medicine. And as my colleague Dr. Gangadharji has said, that it's a high time that professional curriculum and the particularly which include the interpersonal communication skills, patient skills, all these to be focused very high, and this should be an integral part of the curriculum which national bodies started and doing it now. The third question is, do we have evidence-based support for new learning approaches like simulation-based and digital learning? Here, National Board has approached the 5 digital model, where physical, which is our gold standard way of education, is combined with the skill and simulation training, which largely addresses the technical part of the training, and the digital learning, which normally the biggest strength of the digital learning is it brings the uniformity in the training and teaching. So we are adopting this phygital model and we are working very closely on that. The fourth question is how we should organize our education resources to bring the uniformity and standardization across the country. So I've said that with this model, and certainly we need to work more closely with all governmental agencies and all stakeholders together. I always tell my colleague that let us keep the differences limited up to the dais. Once it is off the dais, we should take a unanimous decision only in one direction. And that is what we are doing it at National Board of Examination. The next question is how we are going to address the biggest, yesterday I was talking to one of my colleagues, the biggest shortcoming of our, or biggest shortcoming or bottleneck for the medical education with the country, with our vision, is a faculty shortage. And we must work together with all the stakeholders to bring the new ideas with creating the new faculty generations across the country. And I think this is the area where certainly the Global Connect is going to play a big role. And COVID has taught us very well that Global Connect is possible, and eventually it will certainly complement and strengthen our medical education. The next is, does the existing curriculum address an optimum, address the need for optimum training for aspiring students? We have already started, we have already done work on this. We have 110 specialist board with our National Board of Examinations. They are all faculties across the country, and we are certainly changing a lot of aspects of our curriculum. And I'll just give you a simple example. For example, we have a health administration course in DNB, and we realized that this course doesn't have a component of artificial intelligence. So we are going to change the curriculum and going to add the artificial intelligence into our healthcare administration DNB. So for a lot of changes in the curriculum are taking. And last question is, are we able to create doctors to fulfill objectives of the universal healthcare through our existing medical education system? Here, we need to have a what you call it, a collective wisdom model. We need to have an integrated model. And the integrated model doesn't mean that you need alternate therapies. So, but we, at the moment, our resources are running so parallel to each other. Rather than let us integrate these resources to the best advantage of our aspiring generations and increasing the best utilization of our medical education resources, for which we are known across the world. With this word of our thoughts, thank you very much to all of you, and best wishes to all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Abhijasti, sir. So I'll have invite Dr. Himayan Chaudhary, is the chairman of Federation of State Medical Boards. We have 50 states in USA, and each state have a board, and they are the federation. They also want the USMLE step 1, step 2, 3, along with NBM.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dara. Good afternoon, everyone. Namaste, Assalamu alaikum, Sat Sri Akal. Our time is brief, so I will be brief because I'd like to leave time for my colleagues to say a few words as well. Our U.S. delegation is coming to India for the first time. In fact, several of us have never been to India before, including myself. And this is a wonderful opportunity for us to see how far India has come in both undergraduate and graduate medical education. So on behalf of our delegation, we are grateful to Dr. Anjana Samadar from API for inviting us to New Delhi. We are also grateful for some of the meetings we've already had This morning, we met with Director Srinivasan of AIIMS. We took a tour of the facility, magnificent facility. Day before that, last week, we had the opportunity to visit Dr. Gangadhar in the National Medical Commission and Dr. Abhijat Chet at the National Board of Examination. All of these opportunities have been wonderful for us to learn more about what India is doing and what India is planning for the future. And this is very important for us in the United States because physicians who have been educated in India play such an important role in the United States, both in education as well as in training, as well as in the practice of medicine. As you probably understood from all the lectures that you'll be hearing today and tomorrow. Few words about the Federation of State Medical Boards. As you heard Dr. Adara say, the FSMB was founded in 1912, and we represent all of the states and territories of the United States. And so the state medical boards oversee the licensure of more than 1 million physicians for a population of the country of about 330 million people. We'll hear a little bit more about some of the data that we have about that. But in 1991, the FSMB partnered with the National Board of Medical Examiners, whose leadership is represented here, to create the USMLE, the United States Medical Licensing Examination. Before that, there were essentially two exams for MDs, the NBME exam and the FLEX exam. Some of the older physicians may remember the FLEX examination, but in 1991, those came together. Even before that, every state board at one time had its own examination. So even in the US, we have come a long way. We no longer have localized examinations for licensure. We have the USMLE for MD physicians. And so there have been some changes to the exam. My colleague, Dr. Katsifrakis, will talk a little bit about that. But our purpose here is not just to give you a lecture. We also want to hear from you. So hopefully we will leave some time for Q&A, questions and answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Hank. So I will ask Dr. Peter to come. He's a president of NBME. He's the person who main content of step 1, 2, 3.
Dr. Adara, if I may, I'll speak from my seat because I'd like to save time getting up and
Please, go
back.
ahead.
And I'll ask my colleagues to do the same.
Go ahead.
So as Dr. Adara said, my name is Peter Katsifrakis. I'm the president and CEO of NBME, the National Board of Medical Examiners in the United States. You all know that NBME, along with the Federation of State Medical Boards, administers the USMLE examination sequence. As Dr. Chowdhury mentioned, this is the successor to other licensure examinations in the US. And it is the only examination that MD graduates of medical schools in the US and all international medical graduates must pass in order to ultimately become licensed in the United States. Both the Federation and NBME have been in existence for more than 100 years. And I won't go into much detail, but would say that for the NBME, in addition to the USMLE program, we offer a number of other assessments, primarily serving medical schools, both in the United States and internationally. With that, let me stop talking and ask my colleagues from the Federation and NBME to just briefly introduce themselves. Once we have finished our introductions, we really very much look forward to any questions that you all have for us. So at this point, let me turn things over to Dr. Carter.
Good afternoon. I am Dr. Jeffrey Carter. I'm honored, delighted to be here. I am chair of the Federation of State Medical Boards, and I bring the warmest of greetings to API, AIIMS, and the entire medical community in Delhi. I'm honored to have been elected as FSMB chair by our House of Delegates. One of the themes of my term in leadership is that of engagement. And this opportunity reflects that commitment that FSMB has through outreach to other medical organizations and communities such as yours. Every 2 years, FSMB publishes a census of actively licensed physicians. A little bit about that briefly. There are exactly 1,044,734 actively licensed physicians in the US and Washington, DC. Since 2010, the first year of our census, the physician workforce is 23% larger than it was. That represents a 23% increase in the workforce. That really is quite amazing. Also, compared to 2010, we found that the number of female physicians in the workforce has risen from 30 to 37%. Also of note is that the physician population in the United States is aging. There are currently 54% more physicians in the age 60 and beyond than there were back in 2010. And I'm also happy to report that amongst the physicians in the US who are trained internationally, the greatest number of those physicians are from India. So we're very pleased about that. Having said that, I'll turn it over to my colleagues for their introductions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Carter. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Katie Templeton, and I'm chair-elect of the Federation of State Medical Boards. I will assume the position of chair in May, and I look forward to continuing these conversations at that time. I am not an attorney. I am not a physician. I am an attorney, a healthcare attorney, and just bring the importance of including public members in our medical institutions, our medical schools, our healthcare regulatory systems to bring that additional perspective. And I will turn it over to Dr. Chakanda. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and I'm sorry about my voice. My name is Sarv Turkanda. I'm a plastic surgeon at Mayo Clinic, but the past chair of the Federation of State Medical Boards. It's wonderful to see such young faces that are the future of medicine in India, so congratulations. It's great to be here. Just as you all know that the Federation is involved in medical regulation, and we're one of the founding members of the International Association of Medical Regulatory Authorities, AIIMRA. AIIMRA was founded in 1995, and FSMB currently serves as its secretariat at this point. We held a very successful meeting on international medical regulation in this past year in November 2023. The next meeting will be in Ireland in 2025. I hope to see in 2027 that India will host that meeting. So we look forward to that. In addition, the FSMB and NBME have a very great working relationship with ECFMG as well as the WFME, the World Federation of Medical Education. And I want to congratulate India for being recognized by the World Medical Federation of Education on their system of accreditation. It really means that the standard of medical education in India is very, very high and meets all the quality standards that you can achieve anywhere in the world. So that's a great achievement for India. So congratulations on that. I'll turn it over now to Dr. Reena.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Reena Karani. I'm privileged to be chair of the National Board of Medical Examiners. I'm a geriatrician and palliative medicine physician by training at Mount Sinai in New York City. And I am acutely aware that in front of us there is a time that indicates we have 4 minutes left in this session. And I am going to really turn over our platform to make sure that we use the time to hear from you. So with that, I'm happy to talk more about our individual backgrounds in person, but really want to turn the floor over for questions.
We have esteemed Dr. Shah from UK going to spend a couple of minutes, then we'll ask the questions.
Thank you. Can you get my speech? No, I want to just let me talk. Just get a speech. Good afternoon. I am the secretary of the BAPIO Wales and the executive member of BAPIO UK. My talk today is for the undergraduate and postgraduate students. In We have got a division called BAPIO Training Academy, and we help for the recruitment of two types of doctors from India: post MBBS level and postgraduate level. Post MBBS level, they have to do the training completed for first 2 years in our recognized hospitals in India. And after that, we provide the training of 2 years in United Kingdom. In a postgraduate level, the doctors with the MD or DNB examination, there's a fast track. After 3 or 5 months of the induction in India, they come to UK. Now, both the type, they do not have to do the pleb examination because we are recognized by General Medical Council as the sponsors. Now, the two ways it works. The people from post MBBS, when they come after finishing 2 year training in India, they work in UK at the SH senior house officer level, and from the day one they get salary of 45 to 50,000 pounds. The postgraduate doctors, when they come after 3 or 5 months of induction in India, they come and work at registrar or middle grade level, and they get 70,000 pounds to start with. Now, these both doctors, after finishing their training and their examination, they got an option. They can either work in UK and go to further and either go to family medicine or become a consultant and stay in UK. Or after that experience and training, they can come to India to practice. Now, the cost, the way it works, the cost for post MBBS is about 28 lakhs, and the postgraduate is around 10,000 pounds. We cover their malpractice insurance, and we help them for their registration of General Medical Council, and our hospital and trust provide them a job description and the help from their visa. And finally, it works both ways. The reason is we have a talented doctors from India, and in 1 year we use 60,000 doctors for locum with the cost of 1.3 billion. So that helps to our patient and our country. And the second, that undergraduate and the postgraduate from India, they are a talented workforce, and when they come, they do their examination. We provide in undergraduate level, post MBBS, internal medicine, surgery, pediatrics, and emergency medicine. And the people who come with the postgraduate level, they can work in their own specialty. So these are the benefits. And then when they come back, they already got MRCP or equivalent examination from UK. For any reason, I have not seen one person who came to UK from under our training scheme who did not get the exam. But if they don't get, we provide them certificate of their training. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Shah. So what the message is, India is going to produce not for India, for the whole world. So why can't, so I'm going to open up for the questions. Oh, I want to invite Dr. Srinivas, Director of the AIIMS. Sir, no, please come to stage. No? Questions? Anybody want to have questions? Mic setup. Go ahead.
We have mic setups. Anyone wants to ask any question, please come on the mic and you are free to ask.
Then we can ask.
Don't feel shy. Come on up.
Then we have to ask one. We can ask one question. So nobody. One of the mics, sir.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sirish Patel from USA. I have a question that just like in the US, our typical medical students takes part 1 examination after typical 2 years of training. But if I'm not mistaken, if people are from outside the US, are they allowed to take the Part 1 exam after their 2 or 3 years of medical training? Or they have to complete their entire medical school before they can take the Part 1 exam?
Thank you for that question. Excellent question. And in short, international medical graduates who are enrolled in medical school and sponsored by their medical school can take step 1 or step 2 or both, either before they graduate or after they graduate. They're eligible for both. They cannot take step 3 until they have passed both step 1 and step 2 and have graduated from medical school.
I have a question for Dr. Meenu Bajpayee, sir. So, like every year, we see that lakhs of students appear for the NEET PG, NEET UG. Almost last year, if we see to getting admission into medical school, more than 22 lakh students appeared. And then again, similarly, the competition is going to rise intensely for the PG seats as well. So, what's your advice to students? So, should they start preparing for the post graduation right from entering the college?
Thank you, Shubham. So basically what you are asking is, we are a PG board. So obviously for the UG part, I would say something later on. For the PG part, we are acutely aware that we have about 210,000 people have taken that PG examination and NEET, and we have only 70,000 seat, as Professor Gangadhar just mentioned. And obviously, we are seeing this gap. On one hand, we have shortage, especially in the rural areas, of doctors. On the other hand, we are not having enough PG seats. So as Dr. Sheth, our president of the National Board, mentioned, we launched this scheme of joint accreditation so that the number of PG seats increase. Now, when you say it's a tough examination, the tough is a relative word, and if you don't have much seats, very few people get entry. So obviously, it becomes tougher for those who cannot get the seat. If we broaden this base and we have more seats available, the toughness part will reduce. Of course, that doesn't mean the quality will be compromised. And therefore, I would only say, Shubham, that for everyone here, that at the moment, the health sector is expanding very fast, and we have doubled up our undergraduate seats from 55,000 to 110,000 today, and the PG seats have also increased a lot. The National Board alone in 2016 had 4,500 seats. Now we stand at 14,500 seats, and with the joint accreditation, I can tell you with confidence that we will be adding another 75,000 seats. So therefore, the tough part will be taken care of, and we would not, and since we are short of time, we can discuss a point about what we are doing with our IT. And Dr. Sheth alluded to the fact that information technology is here to stay. The AI and ML is going to be part of our medical education, in which way we are just on the desk drawing board to see how we launch a program so this could be taken care of. It has huge advantages. As the discussion goes further, we will dwell into this once again. Thank you so much.
I have a question for Dr. Humayun. So, what is the key to perfect balance between a good score and a good CV? Good CV. Same question is for Dr. Peter as well.
Thank you. So that's a good question, especially since step 1 of the USMLE examination became pass-fail. This is a question that is also being asked by US medical students about how can they improve their chances of getting into a postgraduate residency position. It's an issue in India. It's an issue in the United States. It's an issue in many parts of the world. We seem to have an adequate supply of medical school graduates, but not enough residency training positions. So certainly having the passion, having sort of engagement in community activities is something that is valued in the United States. I imagine it would be valued in India as well. But the other thing we've seen as we traveled around the world from the NBME and the FSMB is a heightened engagement by students and faculty as well in research. And I think demonstrating a commitment to not only the practice of medicine, but the future of medicine that can be attained through creativity and innovation is, I think, something that is highly valued. But I think there are also, these are sort of the harder sort of things that one looks for, but also there are softer aspects. Volunteering in your community, showing that you care for your fellow person, things that may not hold a lot of value on a CV, but they're important to demonstrate that you are becoming a physician not for the prestige, not for the money, but because you care about your fellow human being. I think that's a challenge for residency program directors around the world to discern, but ultimately I think having a balanced portfolio that you can present enables sort of the right match between the individual and the program.
Dr. Peter, would you like to add something to it?
Happy to, thank you. And I recognize that if I were a student in the audience, I would like to hear the perfect answer to this, and then I would just go do it. And unfortunately, the challenge is that the world is more complicated than that. So the answer of the balance between academic performance and on a test and other aspects of preparation for medical career varies from specialty to specialty. It even varies from residency program to residency program. So I think that the excellent advice I could give you is that make sure that you do have a balance. At the end of 4 years of medical school, if all you've done is scored exceptionally well on a USMLE examination, that's not going to be very attractive to a residency program. That might get you screened through the first part of the process, but it's not going to get you on the rank list for the residency programs. So they are looking for other evidence of academic excellence, like participating in research, but also looking for demonstration of the characteristics that contribute to making a caring, concerned professional, an excellent physician. And it's not going to be sufficient in your personal statement simply to say that you have these values. You should have activities that demonstrate. So I think that both the academic performance and at this point, probably optimizing your performance on step 2CK while also making sure that you don't fail step 1 would be a good way to approach the score question. And then beyond that, seek the areas that you're passionate about that will demonstrate your commitment to a profession as a physician.
I have a question for...
Okay. There are students who have completed step 1, 2, and 3, but due to COVID, they could not come and apply. They have completed the observership and everything. But is there a time limit for the USMLE Part 2 and 3 if it's 4 or 5 years? Or can it be extended by research or anything?
So if they have completed all steps, then they would be qualified for application to residency program and licensure. There is a limit of 7 years that some state medical boards impose between the first time, the first USMLE examination is passed and the last one is, so typically between 1 and 3. But the question that may arise from a residency program would be if they completed these tests 5 years ago, is their knowledge still current enough that they would be well qualified to engage in residency practice? So the issue is more, what have they done in the intervening time that would allow them to be current in their medical education? I don't know if any of my colleagues would add to that.
As part of a residency selection committee, we are looking at a more holistic view of the application. And as Dr. Katsourakis said, the score is just a component and it may be used initially to get you to the first step. But as you're looking at the application, you really want to highlight your journey through that portion of why medicine is the right career for you. And that includes research, as Dr. Chowdhury said. It includes activities and social programs that benefit the community. But it's really the journey. And in this question that arose is how many years you have, it really is a matter of fact, what did you do during those years that you weren't, where you were applying to medical school? I mean, if you were staying at home and not being productive, those are years that are of waste. You should be doing research. You should be working with your communities on social programs. I mean, the journey is the most important part of the application.
I think one other quick comment I might make is there are many international medical graduates from India and from other countries that manage to get matched into a residency program in the US very quickly, right after they've finished the sequence of examinations. Others may not be so lucky, and so they try again, and they try again, and they try again. Sometimes 3 or 4 or 5 years may go by before they're selected. But at some point, as Dr. Katsourakis was suggesting, as each year goes by, I think it becomes a challenge because the concern on the part of the residency programs and the licensing boards is how much knowledge have you retained? What are you doing to keep active in the field of medicine? So it does become challenging as each year goes by. At some point, you have to be realistic about the future, but there are examples of people getting into programs even after several years.
One last question.
Yeah.
I would like to ask.
Go ahead.
I have a question for Dr. Abhijat Seth regarding the regulatory board for medical education after the undergraduates and the post-graduation in India. Like we have American College of Physicians and different boards. They do every 10 years of medical examinations and every few years of continuous medical educations. That way, I think that can improve the updated medical knowledge. And nowadays, with the technology, I think we can provide all the services to the rural area doctors and everywhere, and which may also improve the patient care and the further outcome of that, especially in our fields.
Particularly to your questions about this, what you call it, what we call it, largely it's a sort of a revalidation or to make sure that the physicians are active throughout their career. Certainly, the National Board of Examinations are going to introduce this mechanism at some stage, and so I am very sure the whole regulatory body NMC will also do. What is happening that many of these reforms are done once the system gets mature to the level that the next move remains sustainable and it is successful. I think this is the responsibility of the both medical councils, ourselves, as well as NMC to ensure that first we must address the basic problems of this dichotomy and diversity to make sure that we reach to the platform where we should be able to apply this mechanism very effectively. And eventually, I assure and promise this is going to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Last question will be, go ahead, ma.
Good afternoon, everyone. My question is, what are the scopes in US for students who have done their post-graduation in India?
Huma.
What are the scopes in US for students who have done their post-graduation in India?
Like MD, post-MD.
Post-MD, yes. MD/MS.
Thank you, Dr. Afsar. That's a very good question. I would say the situation right now is in flux. Right now, as you know, even if you have completed your residency training overseas, right now the requirement in most states is that you have to repeat that training after you take the USMLE examination. So you're asking about what happens if you have completed your residency training overseas, correct? No.
If not, the USMLE is not given. Like the students have just completed their post-graduation in India,
Right.
and they have not given their USMLE. So do they have to go through the USMLE steps?
Yes.
And the residency?
So right now, all of the states require the USMLE. First, you have to be ECFMG certified, take all 3 steps of the USMLE to gain entry for licensure eligibility. Some states are beginning to look at other options. And the reason they're doing that is because, like India, in the US, we have a shortage of physicians and we have a shortage of residency spots. So in the Federation of State Medical Boards, and maybe Ms. Templeton wants to say something briefly, is also going to be looking at this issue, because rather than having different states come up with different regulations, this is a role for the Federation to give some advice. So if you have some suggestions, we're welcome to hear them. But we are looking at those regulations for the first time. Ms. Templeton?
Thank you. This will be certainly a key focus of my chairmanship next year, is looking at this issue. As the Federation of State Medical Boards, we want to be a leader in policy for our state boards. Our 70 state and territorial boards maintain their autonomy. They get to make their own choices, but we always want to be able to provide them with the best practice to do so. And this is something that we're going to be looking at, analyzing, considering the impact that it has both in the United States and on other countries. As we make access to the United States different, we want to take into consideration healthcare around the world and in the countries in which physicians may be leaving. So it's certainly going to be a big topic that we will be looking at and analyzing carefully, and looking at all of the angles, both from the United States and the countries from which these colleagues may be coming.
Okay, ma'am. Fellowship programs, if the postgraduate students.
Okay.
With the interest of time, we
We'll
will
answer that question.
answer that question.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And on behalf of RP and AIIMS, I would like to thank our guest from USA. All our medical students and all of us has gained so much meaningful information and help from the information you gave us. So we want to thank you all, and we also want to thank all our Indian counterpart of the similar. And we are definitely making a big stride in developing good relationship between India education system with US system, along with the API's help. So thank you again, and please don't leave. We're going to have a very inspiring talk coming after this. At this moment, we're going to also have a memento. So I request all of. Okay.
So yeah, thank you. So I would like to request all of our guests to please come up forward. We're going to be presenting a small little token of appreciation along with while we are getting ready with the cameraman for the pictures. So much mementos there. So these mementos are being presented to Dr. Humayun Chaudhry, Dr. Peter Kastrofrakis, Dr. Hasmukh Shah, Dr. Abhijat Sheth, and all the other colleagues and friends that they brought with them. Thank you so much for this engagement. Dr. Srinivas is with